So the 2026 Royal Rumble has been and gone, and some of you seem to be really quite mad at this event. So me personally, I have quite a few different thoughts on this event. I have good thoughts, bad thoughts, convoluted thoughts. I have all the thoughts. So I'm gonna get into it. So I rightly predicted in my predictions video, this event kicked off with the Women's Royal Rumble, and this overall I thought this was okay, right? I thought that from a technical standpoint, we had we had Alexa and Charlotte opening up the being entrance number 1 and 2, and this kind of like just set the stage. We kind of suspected that there was going to be that this was going to be the beginning of the end of the kind of a breakup between Charlotte and Alexa, and that was very much kind of like a narrative. I thought that from a technical standpoint, we maybe have got a bit. We maybe got a bit too deep into this Royal Rumble for the eliminations to start happening. It was kind of like a bit of a slow burn at this point. I think that I've heard some people say that they were disappointed that there were no real kind of like surprise entrants, but there were surprise entrants, but yeah, I kind of get what people mean. I mean, I think that you kind of had so I think that if you're somebody who puts a lot of stock into just seeing those surprise entrants, maybe you might be find a little bit wanting here. I mean, maybe you could say that some of the biggest surprises about the entrances in this Royal Rumble, and this goes for both the men's and the women's, that there were not necessarily any big surprises. It's all kind of sounds very paradoxical, but because we were all very much kind of expecting Bianca Belair to return here, maybe AJ Lee, maybe Paige, and none of those happened, and it's a bit of a one of those where people are disappointed with it, but WWE hadn't really given any indication that any of those people were going to happen. We didn't just maybe had that expectation in our minds that they were going to be there. So it's one of those situations where you can't really be mad at your own expectations. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, and in some ways it's worked better. Like if I use a kind of a Bianca Belair situation, for example, and reality you can't put a time scale on that because obviously this is all linked to an injury. So I hope she is doing okay. But yeah, in the reality, it's like my expectation was that she was going to be fit and due to return at the Royal Rumble. We don't know, obviously that didn't happen. So now I'm kind of like in the next world. I have no idea what's going to happen. So when Bianca Belair does return, it is going to feel like just kind of like out of the blue a little bit. So in that sense, I'm kind of like really down for it. We did have Bria Bella returning, reuniting the Bella twins. There's never a big fan of the Bella twins, but yet at the same time, I think that they are going to really elevate the women's tag team division that is already very much getting a lot of focus and elevation from the WWE anyway. And I think that the reason why I say that is because obviously the Bella Twins are a very identifiable tag team, if you know what I mean by that. They're not kind of just two kind of like random wrestlers who seem to have been thrown together. They are very much a tag team with their own kind of identity, and I think the theme of the women's tag team division really needs that right now, especially in terms of they are going to provide maybe some compensation as well, because as we saw in this women's Royal Rumble, there were quite a lot of tag team fallouts. There were a lot of planting of the seeds. Obviously we saw the whole Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, where Charlotte Flair had accidentally eliminated Alexa Bliss. We had Kairi Sane accidentally eliminate Oscar, and we had Liv Morgan intentionally eliminate Raquel Rodriguez. So all of these we kind of like thought maybe were things that we're going to see here, and those are things that definitely pulled the trigger. So if we are going to have those tag teams fall out, you need somebody else to kind of come in and sort of like bump it up a little bit, because you don't want to maybe overcook the pudding, really, in the sense of the women's tag team division is getting a lot of TLC at the minute, so you don't want to hit the detonate button on too many tag teams, and suddenly you find yourself in this position then similar to the men's tag team division, where there just doesn't seem to be enough spice. There doesn't seem to be enough star power to really kind of have that division flourish as it should be. So I think that bringing the Bella twins back and reuniting them is a really positive step forward. We had Tiffany Stratton return in this match. This women's Royal Rumble was a really good showcase for the NXT talent. Here we had who did we have here? We had JC Jane come back. We had Kalani Jordan here. We had Lola Vice. We had Sol Ruka, who put in an absolutely phenomenal performance in this match. She went really quite deep in the match. Just wonderful to see. She was soul snatching all over the place. Just still one of the coolest, if not the coolest move I think I've ever seen in WWE. It's just fantastic. So all of that was great. That was great to see her go as deep as she did in this Rumble. And yeah, so on the whole, I thought that this was a really quite solid women's Royal Rumble. Predictably, we had obviously Liv Morgan be the winner here. We had expected, maybe it kind of like made a lot of sense because Raquel Rodriguez was lined up to have a title match against Stephanie Valkyrie. So I thought that was kind of maybe the play here, but that's how we were going to get into it. And yeah, so yeah, I thought that this was a women's Royal Rumble that really what was really good once it kind of got going. So after this, we had moved into the match we would all been fearing watching, which was the Gunther and AJ Styles retirement match. Another really solid match. Started off with a lot of just countering each other's moves, and there was even to one point where AJ Styles had Gunther in the calf crusher, and Gunther reversed it into a sleeper, and there was a lot of kind of reversing or countering of each other's moves in the early stages of this match. Then we kind of moved deeper in, and it got to more kind of like a physical stuff, and we basically had ended up in the final stages of this match where Gunther was just absolutely chopping AJ Styles down, and it just looked absolute beat. And I have to give plaudits to the referee here, who absolutely sold it. He's like pushing Gunther away, going Gunther stay back, like, and he's trying to kind of separate. He's trying to go, AJ, are you okay? Okay, he was selling this, right? And I thought that this was just fantastic. And we had basically AJ Styles again with some teasers with his last second wind, where it's like, I'm alive, no I'm not, I'm alive, no I'm not, I'm alive, no, just kidding, I'm dead, right? So this was just, yeah, so I thought that this was, from an in-ring perspective, kind of a really solid match. It was kind of everything that it needed to be. I feel mixed in. So people have been commenting about how this was but there wasn't really enough of a red carpet rolled out. There wasn't enough of a celebration about, there wasn't enough of a parade about AJ Styles retiring. Especially when you contrast it with John Cena, who had obviously like an entire year-long retirement tour, and it turns out we were on AJ Styles retirement tour, we just didn't know it maybe. And I feel like mixed about that, because on the one hand, I feel like, I do think that he deserves a lot more of a send off than that in WWE. But at the same time, from an emotional standpoint, the fact that we didn't have it like in a 12-month notice, it kind of made the moment land a lot heavier. It was just much more effective, I think, and. Who knows what he's going to do? There was a little bit of an indicator at the end of the match where he was about to leave his gloves in the ring, and then he went, you know what, no. So, take it as you will, but maybe, people interpret now that he's not quite, although he's done with WWE, he's not quite done with wrestling, so he might go into TNA, he might go into AEW, who knows, so we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, like I said, absolute solid emotional match, and all I can say is thank you, AJ. So yeah, basically we moved on to the World Undisputed Championship match then between Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn. And this was fine. This was a fine match, right? I'm a little bit maybe disappointed by the fact that, well, no, not disappointed, but that's the wrong word. But I was a little bit surprised that Drew McIntyre was as dominant in this match as he was. I thought that there were counters with Sami Zayn, with Luke Kick and stuff. But I was surprised that Sami Zayn never really got any real momentum in this match. It was never any real kind of, we basically started off with Drew McIntyre being really dominant and beating Sami Zayn down, and before, okay, this is how it all plays out. There's going to be that pendulum swing, and and it never really happened. And Drew McIntyre was really quite dominant during this match, which I think it makes a lot of sense in some respects, in kind of like building Drew McIntyre up but yeah, it did surprise me a little bit that we didn't get more of especially with where we were with how over Sami Zayn was with the Saudi crowd. I felt like a little bit for some of the people in Saudi Arabia crowd, because obviously they had just witnessed this absolute gutter bunch of AJ Styles and retiring, and now they've got like obviously now they have to see like Sami Zayn, who they are totally in love with, just get this beat down as well. So real wanting bunch there. But yeah, like I said, I don't think that it's going to go down as a classic. I don't think it'll be like one of the real memorable matches, but it was fine, right? It had done everything that it kind of like needed to be. And then then we get into the men's Royal Rumble, and so this started off in, I gotta say, really badass fashion, right? So let's get into it. So we basically had Obafemi come out as number 1. We had Bron Breakker come out as number 2. And initially I thought like my dreams have been realised. We are going to have these. I've talked about how that would be a big fantasy booking for us to have an Obafemi Bron Breakker feud. So Bron Breakker is coming down to ringside, and he gets taken out. He gets taken out by a masked hooded man who is seems to be an obligatory addition now to a PLE, but we have to have another hooded figure here. Normally I would not be as big a fan of that because I think it has been a bit overused. It has become a bit cliche. So normally I would be absolutely fuming at this decision, but just the way that it was executed, the implications that it has, I thought that this was such a bold and fire move by WWE, right? Because it was basically we had the mask figure take Bron Breakker out, throw him in the ring, and he hit him with a stomp, teasing once again that this might be Seth Rollins. I don't believe it is Seth Rollins. I think that's again another kind of little red herring. But he hits him with a stomp, he throws him into the ring, and then Oberfemi is like, well, I'm not going to complain, and he just eliminates Bron Breakker easily. And I thought that this is such a good, because I predicted before in my predictions video also, but I felt that the whole favoritism of Bron Breakker winning the Rumble was going to be a swerve, right? I had never thought in my wildest dreams that it was going to be so much of a swerve, right? But it also made me kind of question things because we had Oberfemi enter at number one. He would have been my obviously my other pick to win this. He was my pick to win it. But then we was like, oh my god, Bron Breakker is like taken out and Oberfemi is number one. He's got to go like the entire way. And now suddenly all of a sudden I start questioning myself. Right? I start thinking, my god, I've never really entertained before that it could have been somebody out. Like I know more for me, right? But I never really entered. Although we had like Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar, you know, we had these big guys. So I kind of like felt like, but I never for some reason really entertained. I was so fixated was either going to be Bron Breakker or Oberfemi, right? So suddenly all of a sudden my brain starts really kind of like doubting myself, right, in this moment, and then sort of like, oh my god, maybe it's not Oberfemi, like who could it be? Maybe it could be a Roman Reigns, maybe it could be a Cody Rhodes for a third time, maybe it could be a Grande Americano, who knows, right? And it was basically, I just thought it was such a masterful stroke. I just thought it was the swerve of all swerves, right? It was such a good thing, and it made me interested to see Raw, you know. And I think that this was another credit to this. So I thought that it started off in such spectacular fashion that it had kind of put itself on a pedestal that undoubtedly the rest of the Rumble could not live up to, right? I thought that there was a bit of unlike the Women's Royal Rumble, which I think got gradually better as it went on. I think the Men's Royal Rumble just kind of like declined as it went on, because we had Oberfemi go on to make 5 eliminations, one after the other, and then didn't really do anything else really during the match. And when we got sort of like halfway, where this was the spot where somebody on the internet had the real meltdown over this little bit. So I'll kind of like break it down. We had Ilya Dragunov against Brock Lesnar. He was hitting Brock Lesnar with the chops. Brock Lesnar didn't sell this. There's been really a lot of fallout online about Brock Lesnar not selling it. I'm fine, but look. Yeah, but the way I see it, look, is whether a talent decides to sell or not, it depends on what the end game is, right? And you kind of go, and here you're basically, you had these standoffs between Brock Lesnar and Oberfemi, and even when Brock Lesnar got in, they had trying to have this face off, but people kind of ended up getting in the way. So you had to build Brock. Do you do what I mean? You had to have Brock Lesnar have that stature of this absolute beast. You know, you had to have him as that kind. You had to kind of revert back to that kind of like that Brock Lesnar we had when he broke the Undertaker's streak, right? And to kind of make it work, because that was the play, right? That was the play. So you know, it was kind of like, the play wasn't to kind of elevate Ilya Dragunov in any way. The play was that you have these two big guys, right, who are just could absolutely murder you, and you could just rip your arms and legs off, right? So that was kind of a play. So I don't see the issue. I think that Brock not selling, just kind of like, and just totally just manhandling the Dragunov and throwing them out. I think it just totally worked for the end game that they were going for, right? We had at some point Jey Uso then come out to his, you know, and he was eating on his way down to his entrance theme down to the ringside, and I just thought, my God, we could have all 30 entrants in the Royal Rumble before Jey even gets into the ring, right? And then he finally gets into the ring, obviously officially making himself a participant, and he jumps up on the second rope and he starts yeeting to the crowd, and I'm just like thinking, based on the rules and the mechanics of a Royal Rumble, that is not what you want to be doing. I'm like, just somebody push him, right? You know what I mean? But obviously, that's never in the world gonna happen. But you know, it was just one of those kind of dumb things that kind of like had to make me chuckle. And then we basically had. And then we had basically then we had him kind of like in the center of the ring to run it back. We had them in exchange with Roman Reigns where he was like, yeah, shall we run it back, and then the Roman just ends up punching him in the face, which just made me chuckle. It was just one of those little spots, but it was kind of dumb, but it did make me chuckle. And as long as everyone's having a good time, then do you know what I mean? I would kind of like happy. What I really did not like though, and this is what some of the fallout has been, that during all of this entrance from Jey Uso and all the yeeting, that was when we had Brock Lesnar eliminated. And I'm not a Brock Lesnar guy, right? But yeah, this really did kind of like, this just it was rubbish, right? Especially the fact that we just had just before that, we had Brock Lesnar eliminate Obafemi in, again, a real nonchalant kind of way. Do you know what I mean? We had, and it was just, so yeah, this was really disappointing. And I'm not saying this out of any sour grapes or anything, because I picked Obafemi and Obafemi got eliminated. I'm not saying that, but I just thought that these two eliminations were just really kind of lame. Do you know what I mean? You kind of think, you know, you're looking at Obafemi and what they're kind of building for him, and you go, if you are going to eliminate him from the Royal Rumble, you had better come up with something big to kind of get that guy out. And it was just really, yeah. So it didn't kind of, that was just a really kind of weak spot for me. And yeah, so we basically have. So we had basically continued this men's Royal Rumble through. We had Roman Reigns winning this. We had Gunther be the second to last person. The spots between Roman Reigns and Gunther as the last two were basically largely filled up with Gunther trying to apply the sleeper, it did surprise me a little bit that Gunther went so deep into this second one, yeah. And when Roman Reigns kind of what was announced, I felt kind of mixed about it. I did feel mixed about it, because on the one hand, Roman's my guy. I really like Roman, so on that sense, I was kind of happy that he had won it. The obvious play was obviously that we were going to get CM Punk at WrestleMania now. I think that's a WrestleMania worthy match. But yeah, something about it, and I can't quite articulate why, but it just, there was something about it that didn't quite land. land for me. It seemed a little bit anticlimactic, but for the life of me, I can't quite. It seemed a little bit unimaginative, and I don't really quite know why, but yeah, there was just something. I'm still somehow expecting a swerve somewhere, right? I'm still expecting them to kind of the whole Roman Reigns against CM Punk to be a little bit of a tease. It doesn't end up kind of like happening, and they go for this hard swerve with uh, with Roman and Cody again, or something. I don't think that that's necessarily going to be because another spot in here we had Cody Rhodes getting eliminated after he got after Drew McIntyre intervened and hit Cody Rhodes with a Claymore. So that feud isn't done. So I see we're tied up kind of like with Jacob for two. So we're going to get around it some way. With this feud, obviously between Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes isn't done. There's this whole narrative where where Cody Rhodes can't have a rematch now because there was this no rematch clause in the contract and stuff. But I get away with Jacob for two being an addition. They're going to get around it some way. I don't know how they're going to get around it, but it's going to keep them busy for some point. And this brings us back to Bron Breakker a bit, because this was another real kind of swerve, because I thought if Bron Breakker wasn't going to win this Royal Rumble, he was sure as hell going to win the Elimination Chamber, right? And I think that that can still happen, but I think the way that this Men's Royal Rumble played out, it just cast doubt here, right? Because I did think that maybe we thought to ourselves, oh, okay, so if Bron, because basically we're gonna have Cody Rhodes, he's gonna be really tied up with this Drew McIntyre feud, so that's kind of and there's Jacob for two included in all that as well, so that's going to keep them busy for a while. We got this play between Roman Reigns and CM Punk, so that's going to keep him. So maybe there's something else that's planned for Bron Breakker here. Do you know what I mean? Maybe the return for Seth Rollins is quite near, and that's why but I don't know. We'll have to see. But that's why I'm not entirely sure the route they're going to go now with Bron Breakker and the Vision, and that's what's got me really quite invested. That's part of what's made me want to tune into Monday Night Raw every week now to kind of see what happens, and also again. So to that end, the Royal Rumble has done its job. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. On the whole, guys, I thought that this was quite a solid Royal Rumble. I think there's obviously a lot of people quite online who strongly disagree with me. And that's fine. Variety is a spice of life. But yeah, I thought that this was I thought that there was the little bit between from Brock Lesnar eliminated to Oberfemi to Jey Uso's entrance and Brock Lesnar getting eliminated. I thought all of that spot was just a bit lame. But other than that, I thought that this was a pretty solid Royal Rumble. So yeah, thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, don't forget to ring a bell for notifications. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Please feel free to let me know down in the comment section about what your thoughts about this Royal Rumble was, and what your own little fan theories about maybe where things might be heading now into the future. All of our fun stuff, let me know down in the comment section. And as always, I will see you guys on the next video. You guys take care.